You're going to repass it.
We're good.
All right, so we are going to be attempting to transmit this.
Yes.
Did anybody not get a raffle ticket? Okay, Mary, I got you covered.
Okay.
All right.
We're going.
All right, so folks, welcome to Chemical Combat. This is a workshop on toxicity and how to defend your well-being by avoiding the toxins, or I should say, minimizing the toxins that we come in contact with. You know, my mission tonight is to shine a light into the darkness that is our healthcare system. And the reality is that darkness doesn't have permission to exist unless light refuses to shine. And so, being a lighthouse here to then set you on fire, to go home and change your lives, implement these changes, and therefore allow you to have a healthier life, a healthier family that will create success, that will help us save and change our community that's literally rotting and dying before our eyes. How do we do this? We help replace the system. Understanding how toxicity plays a role. Looking back over the last 50 to 100 years, we've seen this significant increase in toxicity as the chemical revolution and the industrial revolution and then the healthcare evolution, it devolved, I should say, and how this has all impacted us. Each day, our bodies are slathered and covered and smothered with toxins, hidden inside of the products that we use every day, to the point that by the time you get out of bed, from the detergents you used on your laundry or your pajamas, to the time you brush your teeth, wash your hair, cook your food, get ready to leave the house, you've come in contact with 100,000 different chemicals polluting your body. And so the effects of toxicity, some of them are more familiar. Yeah, the fatigue and the brain fog and the headaches and the nausea and all these things that we're familiar with. But most people aren't as familiar with the fact that 95% of all cancer worldwide is diet and lifestyle related. Raise your hand if you know someone or have someone in your family who's had cancer. 100%, right? 99% of people. That's an epidemic. And so when we think about these things, where are those coming? Because let me back up, because the fact is that some of you, each day, when we're going through life, it is a battle for our mind. Our mindset and our minds is the battleground that darkness works in. And it comes for our mind first. Because right now, as you hear all this stuff, some of you will say to yourselves, oh, what's the point? Gosh, it's overwhelming. There's so much against me, and what am I going to do, and how am I going to fix this? But hopefully you came here seeking knowledge and light and truth to take this to the next level so that we can make this obtainable. Because when we look at, these are the things that we all use, right? We all cook, we clean, we use the water, the shampoo, the conditioner, the cleaning things. And then all of this, these are the top main components to which toxins come into our lives. And each one of you is different. And you have a different lifestyle. And you have different products. And you have different habits and different environments. And so you're here tonight to analyze this information and see what you can do within your life to minimize the impact of toxicity for you. To go home and then educate your family about how this impacts them. And then we need to understand that, like, one of the things I want to touch base on right now, food storage containers. When they took out BPA, I have the resources that can go out in a little while. We're going to pass around the sign-in sheet because most of you didn't put an email address down. But a lot of our resources and links and videos are going to be sent to you if we have your email address. And so if you put that on there, you can get things like bisphenol A substitutes from the National Institute of Health have safety concerns. So they take BPA out of plastic bottles from babies, but all they did was replace it with BPF or BPS. And they are plasticizers of the same molecular structure and metabolism that BPA has. So we just haven't proven that it's cancerous, so we can't ban it yet. And this is the reality of what we're dealing with. So if you have plastic in your life, if you drink from plastic water bottles, if you store your food in Tupperware, if you store anything in plastic, you are poisoning yourself. We're going to talk about how that impacts you. But then we just went through 4 years of darkness, just pouring fear through this narrative of how all of us were flawed, right? If you weren't flawed from being old, you were flawed from your genetics. And if you're not flawed from your genetics, you're just going to have bad luck. And so you got to take our new pharmaceutical and this experimental drug, and we're going to do this experiment worldwide, and you've got to be using hand sanitizer. And man, we all got to go home and stay in our homes. And we got to avoid contact. And we got to wear masks. And what we did was we created a society that now is full of fear, more so than ever. So much so that most people who didn't watch the news now are too scared not to watch the news because they got to watch the news so they know what to be afraid of. We're breeding fear on top of fear, and oh my gosh, I'm afraid I wouldn't know what to be afraid of. Wow, I gotta watch the news, but it makes me anxious. I'm afraid. And this is the society so much so that over the last few years, haven't you noticed how people really have more of a temper? There's less kindness. People are just in general angrier, and it's because everybody's already so fearful that the least little thing sets them off. It's traffic. It's I had to wait in line, or that was an inconvenience, or whatever, and boom, they lose their cool. It's because this darkness is using fear. And fear is what darkness uses to create conformity. But light uses hope. When we provide hope for people, there becomes a solution. Because 80% of our genetics, we inherit our genetics, but 80% of the genes that are turned on due to the environment we put our genetics in. Our lifestyle, our habits. And 95% of cancer is due to lifestyle and diet, right? So we the people own 95% of the cure to cancer. That should provide you with hope. But how do you change your lifestyle? Well, that's what we're going to do tonight. Because while we were told to spend the last 4 years in our houses, the Environmental Protection Agency says that most homes are at least 5 times, if not 100 times more toxic than the outside air. We created more sickness, and what that is, and the reason it's such a large scale, is because the new construction homes, remodeled homes, they are constantly emitting vapors called volatile organic chemicals. So the more construction you've done, the more remodeling, the newer your house, the more toxic it is. off-gassing is what it's called. And so when we went home and we had nothing to do, what did most people do? They were trying to do remodels and get people to work and all these kind of things. And all we were doing was making ourselves more toxic. When what we used to say was, I want to go out and get fresh air. I need to be outside. And only people with allergies would say, it's not my season. I'd like to go out and get some fresh air, but I've got allergies, so I stay indoors more now. But we did it for years. So instead, let's empower our detoxification pathways. Let's help you understand that a toxic load, and one of the things, so what we're going to do is pull you out of that fear model and give you a system that replaces that healthcare system that isn't really healthcare anyway. It's a sick care system. No one does anything for you until you have a disease or a diagnosis. And in this sick care system, all they have is drugs, surgery, maybe some physical therapy to buy you some time until you need more drugs and surgery. But then these are the things that are the typicals. And so to replace that model, we want to focus completely on prevention, completely on lifestyle, completely, and we call this the 5 essentials of health. Max Living's 5 essentials of health, represented by these 5 different posters up here on the wall, where chiropractic, nutrition, mindset, your oxygen and your exercise, and minimizing toxicity. These are the things that we can do on a daily basis to take us out of that sick care system, which if you aren't actively changing your lifestyle, by default, you're in the system. And if you're in the system, you are a statistic. A statistic that says 95% of all cancers are diet and lifestyle related. And so you know what your results are going to be. As a matter of fact, the United States is the sickest industrialized country on the planet. We have the highest rates of cancer and diet and obesity. We have the lowest life expectancy at birth of any other industrialized country. We take the most drugs, but yet the toxic load continues, and we need to understand how to then implement and strengthening our immune systems by getting rid of glyphosate, which is, most people know it as Roundup. So Roundup is this pesticide, herbicide, that was Monsanto owned, but it got bought by Bayer, so they just relabeled it. It's still out there being used. When you look on the side of the highway and you see the burnt grass and all that stuff, it's just glyphosate. It's Roundup. And so when we look at our toxic load, we want to get rid of those things, the mold and the mycotoxins. This is something that you need to do at your own house or have a home inspector do. Come and look at your crawl spaces, look in your basements, and then look, what most people don't do is look in their air ducts for mold and mildew. And it's the spores and the different things that those mold and mildew release that end up in our airways, that end up in our lungs. The phthalates or the parabens. Nowadays you see a lot of products that are labeled phthalate and paraben free. Heavy metals, xylene and microbial endotoxins are the typical things that fill our bucket. So in chiropractic, we recognize the fact that God created us with this innate intelligence. Our innate intelligence, our soul, is what's running our body. It's animating and regenerating. And it is that part of us that's an immeasurable something that controls and coordinates every part of our body, including trying to deal with the toxicity of our body. So this vessel that we live in, this bucket, so to speak, is just for a comparison perspective, is the vehicle that our spirit travels through this physical world in. And it can fill up with toxins. And as the body is coming in contact with toxins, which are unavoidable in our environment, if our body can deal with the toxic load, it only costs us the energy it took our body to get rid of those things. But once the toxins come up, or maybe we are aging and we're not using self-care properly, we're not taking care of ourselves, we're not learning and growing on how to have better self-care and maintenance. So instead, our bodies are just filling up with toxins. We're coming in contact with more, but we're not moving as much, and we're not doing the things that we did when we were younger that helped us get rid of toxins. And so now, the body starts to show signs and symptoms and wear and tear. And yeah, people's nervous systems are the first place to show these signs and symptoms. And so then we begin to get diseases and diagnoses when the bucket overflows. And when that bucket overflows, yeah, it's a labelable disease. It's Crohn's disease. Or maybe it's diabetes, which is carbohydrate toxicity. You're literally being poisoned by too many carbohydrates. That's what diabetes is. And then you look at heart disease. There's too much inflammation in your cardiovascular system, and your body's not able to heal it. That's literally being poisoned, and toxicity plays a role in that. So what we want to do is, instead of labeling it, we want to get your body never developing these things. The best way to shift your paradigm is to be able to expect never to have these problems. Imagine your life if you did not expect cancer to run in your family, diabetes to run in your family, heart disease to run in your family. What if your legacy and you being here and you changing your lifestyle and you changing your habits and you implementing these things change that for the rest of your family, for the rest of their lives? That's what the potential is. And it's all based on what you're willing to implement. Like our water. Okay. Water, our filtration system here in Dade County does as good a job as most in the rest of the country. But there is still hexavalent chromium, and there's still going to be pharmaceuticals, because so many people are peeing and pooping their pharmaceuticals. They're flushing them down the toilets, and all of this stuff is ending up in our waterways, and we cannot keep up with enough types of filtration to get out all those pharmaceuticals. So in our water systems, we're being exposed to drugs, to chlorine, to fluorine. The chlorine kills the bacteria, and it's done in a concentration in those trace amounts. It poisons us too. The fluoride it'll make your teeth harder, but it's a neurotoxin. It's banned in almost all of Europe. They don't put it in their waterways, but we put it in ours for some reason. So stage 3 water filter is very important. It needs to be on the refrigerator that makes your ice cubes. It needs to be, if that's where your source of water is and you're filling up your water bottles, because you now know that plastic and any food storage containers that are plastic is a terrible idea. And we're going to talk about how they poison us. And then stage 3 water filter on your sink, and hopefully then your showers. And then if you're going to go even further, whole house filtration systems, stage 3 or better. And every time you go to buy a water filter, it labels, if you look it up and read about it, it has promises. Pulls out pharmaceuticals, spores, this, that, and the other. And you want to read the one that has the list of things you know are in our water supply and gets rid of it. And then buy that one. Put it in your refrigerator. Put that one in the sink filter. These are the ways that we can stop even using, because we all are made of about at least 70% water. And we need to be constantly flushing that water through our bodies. And the math is a ½ ounce of water per pound of body mass. So I weigh 195 pounds, so I just say, okay, 200. I need to minimally drink at least 100 ounces of water a day. Otherwise, I'm dehydrated. Same goes for you, but it needs to be filtered water. Don't worry, that's a great filter on that one that you used on your way in. So I want us to understand that the most vulnerable population is our younger females, and this is fun, it's great, because me and my wife, we had children later in life, and so anyone who is going to have children, those are the most vulnerable, because how toxic they are determines how toxic their baby is. In the world, the darkness out there would have you believe that autism and childhood cancer are on the rise for, we don't know why. But the reality is that childhood cancers and childhood brain cancer is the fastest growing population. And I'm about to explain why. And I'm about to explain that why, when I was a child, it was like 1 in 10,000 when I was born would be on the autism spectrum. Now it's 1 in 24 to 1 in 38. That's the spectrum. Some areas, they have 1 in 24 kids are on the spectrum now. The best scenarios where it's the least prevalent is 1 in 38 are on the spectrum. And we're going to learn why, because the fact is that 90% of the women tested, so they did this study called the 10 newborn study, where they looked at the children and they took their fetal cord blood, and right after the child was born, they snipped the cord, they took blood out of it from these American Red Cross did this, and they sent it off, and they looked at it, and they discovered that all 10 newborns had 287, at least, different chemicals inside of their body, to which, when they looked at it, 217 were toxic to the brain and nervous system, 208 caused birth defects, abnormal development, and animal testing. And so we know that these things were industrial chemicals. And then they looked at the women that gave birth, and they tested positive for at least 62 of them, 90% or more. This is ridiculous. And so what happens is, a baby is being developed. So I guess I should say it this way. You've been lied to. It's not just your age, your genetics, or your bad luck. It's the fact that the children are being born on the spectrum because they're being damaged in utero from the toxicities of the moms that have been lied to, and they don't know any better. They don't know where it's coming from. And these things are happening, and the children are on the spectrum. It's about a toxic load. Some of them get the toxic load somewhere between ages 0 and 3 or 4 when they get diagnosed. Some of them were already toxic when they were born. Because the nervous system, so two cells come together, create one cell. That cell is that baby. Then that cell develops hundreds of times and replicates into a ball of cells. And that ball of cells, the first thing to form is the primitive streak that folds over and makes the notochord, which turns into the spinal cord and the brain on one end. It develops first because then it tells the heart to develop. Now the heart develops, the blood vessels develop because that ball's getting bigger and bigger, and oxygen and nutrition from the mother in the placenta cannot get all the way into those cells in the inside. So it's developing the cardiovascular system because we all need oxygen and nutrition. So now the nervous system's telling that heart and blood vessels to develop. So now those blood vessels are growing into the body, the nerves are growing into that future body, and then it turns into the child. So the most rapidly developing thing in an embryo and in a child is the nervous system. So it's taking the nutrition from the mom, and if that nutrition is toxic, it's going to concentrate more toxicity in the nervous system. This is why we're seeing the most increase in brain cancers and in autism spectrum. It's about the toxicity that child is incurring in utero. That's damaging because it's the environment that turns on the genetics. And I hope this is just clicking wheels. And you're just going, oh gosh, I hope this makes sense. So what we want to do is educate our families about this, our children, our grandchildren. We want them to know how to get rid of these pollutants. And what that means is that you need to know that your toxins are coming from your lungs, your skin, or your GI. Because that's the only way things get inside of this body, right? Those are the only orifices, so we're either breathing it in, we're either drinking it or eating it, or we're putting it on our skin and absorbing it. That's the only way things get inside. So then our liver is our master organ that detoxifies our body. And things are either considered fat-soluble or water-soluble. And the liver has 4 choices to get rid of things. It can either use your skin, the lungs, the kidney, or the colon. Right? We're either going to pee it out, poop it out, sweat it out, or breathe it out. That's what it boils down to. Right? And those are the way that we do it, right? We know the lungs. You exhale, and you can use a breathalyzer to test how much alcohol is there, nicotine, vapors, other things. They can all be tested inside of our air. So we know that the liver sends these things. Now, as long as your bucket is filling up slowly, and the amount of toxins that are coming in are low, your liver can get rid of all the toxins through one of those 4 ways. But once you reach a threshold, your immune system's what's dealing with all of these toxins. And your immune system, under the command of your liver, is trying to get rid of these things. When it becomes overwhelmed is when we start to get things like Crohn's disease. We get ulcerative colitis, autoimmune disorders, thyroid problems. We have all of these diagnoses that say our body is creating these labelable things because of an overload and a loss of control of the body. All diseases in the body can be boiled down to 3 things. A deficiency in something, a toxicity in something, or a loss of control of that body part. We incur stress, physical, chemical, and emotional stresses that cause deficiencies, toxicities, or a loss of control. And so the cause of our problems is the cure. And that, if we can, we've spent the last 4 years and everybody's screaming, follow the science. But nobody's followed any science. Because nobody's cause and effect, right? Nobody's dealing with cause and effect. We're not taking away anything. We're adding more drugs. We're adding more toxins. And we're telling you it's just bad luck. But God created this world, and there are rules like gravity, inertia, momentum, the law of cause and effect. And so let's get to real science, which gets rid of the cause. And so we minimize, but what happens is these toxins are coming in. If the body gets overwhelmed, it has to store it. So if it's fat soluble, like hormones, pesticides, and heavy metals, those are fat soluble. So they get stored in your fat cells, your bone marrow, your liver, right? Fatty liver disease, non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, all these things. Your body literally marbleizes the liver because of toxicity. And so then the CNS in the brain, because your brain is 90% fat. So again, these developing children are storing those fat-soluble toxins, the pesticides, the Roundup, the hormones coming from the plastics. Those plastics emit hormones that are estrogen mimickers, and it increases the risk of all of the glandular cancers and CNS cancers. So the more of those things you have, the more likely we're going to see the things like autism and things like that. Now the water-soluble things like sugar, and nicotine, and vapors, and chemicals, those get stored in the joints and in the blood, and this is where in the muscle tissues. So that's why, like me, for Mother's Day, the family was doing dessert, and I didn't want to fully participate, but I wanted to have a little. So that awesome espresso cookies and cream ice cream, it was good. Instead of eating a bowl of it with a thin mint cookie like they did, I had my coffee, and I just got the bright idea to take a spoonful of it and put it in my coffee as my cream. Man, it was good. So good that was a tablespoon instead of a teaspoon, and I had to do it, and afterwards I had kind of a buzz, man, I was ready, and so, but that was it, but that was enough for me to know that yesterday I felt like crap. My joints hurt, my muscles, I was stiff, well, I was like, dang, you're not used to just raw sugar, and so I can recognize it because I just don't do that much. But many of you and people who have diabetes, they know their joints, the worse their diabetes is, the worse they hurt. The chronic fatigue syndrome, the fibromyalgias, inflammation in the muscle tissues due to toxicity. So what are we going to do? We're going to use our 4 pathways, the skin, the kidneys, the colon, and the lungs, to detox. How can you, and what are you coming in contact with? And then which are you using the least of? Your colon's every day, right? We're all going to pee or poop. Our kidneys are working, our colon's working. And so we're looking at these things, but it tells you, and we're going to touch base on some of these things as we go along, because we want to empower your cells to be healthy. Fixing the cells, the cell membranes, so that more toxins can get out of the cell and more nutrients can get into it. And then we want to look at allowing our bodies to combat the chemicals by helping upregulate those detox pathways through the 5 essentials. This is the replacement to the sick care system. And so the chemicals, they come from our food. We have, number one, I want to start talking about solution, which these ladies showed up. We've got doTERRA, and we've got Norwex, and then we have Iron Roots Pastures over here. So we're on food, so we're going to talk about it. She just sits in the floor now to talk about it. And perfect time. This is exactly how these things happen. So Iron Roots Pastures is our regenerative farming, organic, local establishment that is a drop point right here. If you can go online and order food from them, it's here and delivered and here when you have come for your appointments, and you can use this as a pickup. Because toxins in our food, number one, are the number one things you need to know to implement. This is our best case scenario. Regeneratively farmed organic food, period. Buying organic, next step down, grass-fed, all of these different labels utilizing those things. But we need to understand that ewg.org is our resource that you can go to, and I'll give you the things to download here in just a minute, the QR code. And so ewg.org gives you a list of the Dirty Dozen or the Clean 15. And the Dirty Dozen are the 12 worst things to buy conventional because they're the most pesticide sprayed, they're the most genetically modified, so you always buy those organic. But the Clean 15 are the 15 things that are not as sprayed, so saving money, you can buy those conventionally. It'd be better if you bought them organic, but they're the least toxic things. And that list is on ewg.org. Then, as far as food goes, we're going to continue to talk about these minimum standards, getting rid of the top 5 foods. One of which is toxic bioaccumulation that happens from normally conventionally raised fish is the worst. Farm-raised fish is one of the most toxic things that you can buy because they're being fed toxic ingredients as their food. They concentrate the toxins in them, and then we eat them. Or conventional beef, being raised in its own poop in a feedlot, being fed grains, being fed antibiotics to keep its stomach from rupturing. These are the things in the way that pigs, cows, chickens, all these things are being raised. So we want to buy them this way, but always never eat farm-raised fish, period. These are the top 5 most toxic foods. Fried foods, packaged foods. So you take GMO foods, regular conventionally raised foods, and then in the processing and packaging of processed food, there are 10,000 different chemicals used. 10,000 different chemicals added into our food in the processing and packaging of it. That becomes the toxicity. So there's toxicity, it's a GMO, it's been sprayed with Roundup, it's very toxic. Now we add 10,000 extra chemicals to it when we process it and package it, and then you eat. And then we wonder why this creation, this amazing vehicle that we have, gets poisoned. In chiropractic, we understand that our bodies, nature, doesn't need any help. It needs less interference. It needs us to quit polluting the purity that we were created with. This soul, this innate intelligence that resides inside of me and every one of you, knows what it wants to do for your body. But it's being stamped out with toxicity and lifestyle issues that are limiting its ability to regenerate and thrive and allow you to be a light in the world. Getting rid of the fried foods, getting rid of the GMOs, understanding that if you're going through, and I'll be liberal, I'm way easier than a lot of my friends in Maxwell. And that is, I'll say, if you're going through the drive-through more than once a month, horrible idea. Absolutely super toxic bad. Because it's fried, it's packaged, it's processed, it's full of GMOs, it's artificial colors and dyes. One of the reasons I wanted you to put your name and your email address on our list is because of the video that you're going to get a link to that is a TED Talk on YouTube. That this woman has gone through and documented the different artificial colors and dyes and how they affected her autistic son. And she does much more eloquent job of articulating that, because we know that people who are on the spectrum, and you know them, they're addicted to certain foods. They'll only eat certain things, and when they eat X, Y, Z, they go off the chain, right? Woo, no way, don't give them that. We're going over to the parents. I can't handle them over there, and that ain't gonna happen, right? So don't give them any of that, Lord knows. Right? These are the things we talk about, but it's affecting us too. How do we upregulate? We eat more things that are antioxidants. We eat the berries, the cruciferous vegetables. What is that? Some people are thinking. Asparagus, Brussels sprouts, cauliflower, and broccoli. Raw is best. Cabbage, one of my favorites. I use that instead of noodles. So we saute up cabbage instead, and that's what we put our Alfredo sauce or our marinara on, and then we add in. My wife's a vegetarian, so she doesn't add in the meat. She adds in different vegetables, and I get to eat those too. And I add in my grass-fed beef or my organic chicken, so I get both worlds. The omega fats. Why are they so essential? Omega fats are the fats that your body cannot make from other fats. So if you're eating the toxic canola oil, vegetable oils that were hot, were rancid, and then they went in hot and rancid into a plastic bottle, that then is an oil that sucks those hormones into the oil, and then you eat that, then you're getting all of the bad stuff from the oil, no omegas, and all the poisons from the plastic. But the omega fats 3, 6, and 9, they need to be in a proper ratio. And so, though that's, again, those are antioxidants. And so turmeric, it's actually the curcuminoids in the turmeric that are the antioxidant properties that allow us, and they work at dampening inflammation that is chronic and out of control. So let's talk about this. Let's illuminate this lie. Everybody's been told that inflammation is bad. Healing does not happen without inflammation. Short-term, acute inflammation saves your life. Acute. Chronic, non-checked inflammation from toxicity, from poor lifestyle choices, from all of these things that keeps our bodies inflamed, from stress. All of these things, that's bad. So what we do is we use a plant that's less toxic or non-toxic, it's not toxic at all, instead of ibuprofen or naproxen or NSAIDs or any of those things, and all it does is dampen naturally the same things, the PF2 kinase reaction that is dampened with NSAIDs. But it's not toxic to our liver. And that's what we, again, use as, and that we call that Curcumin Plus. That's one of the supplements that we have. Because these are the things that we can do. We can all eat more berries. We can all eat more cruciferous vegetables. We can all eat and get pure versions of omega fats. And we can eat more turmeric or curcuminoids. But we often are taking supplements. These supplements are often toxic with binders, fillers, things like that. Lord forbid you're buying your stuff at CVS or Walmart or someplace like this and you're believing that that's actually helping you. Unfortunately, the artificial flavors, colors, and additives and the binders and fillers are typically more toxic than the good stuff that's in there. Because the good stuff's in a form that you can't absorb. So one of the things as we provide solutions for patients is this is the Max Living brand promise. This is the minimum standard of everything that's carried in this office. That it's GMP certified, FDA registered, NSF certified, 100% GMO free, gluten free, all those things. And it's changing. We have partnered with a guy, I can't even name him because he owns the regenerative farms, the organic farms, and he already is on the board of another supplement company, and he's moving over into Max Living. And we are sourcing, and all of our stuff is changing label to what's called Pure Path. And as they convert over to these Pure Path supplements, all our supplements are going to be organic and regeneratively farmed and all of these things, making them the best things on the market. And so we provide a narrow gap of things for our patients. And so when we talk about detoxification and what you're able to leave here with, you're going to leave here today to go out and change your lives, hopefully. And that is to combat chemicals. So the combat chemicals bundle is how to upregulate your detoxification. So this system is unique in the fact that it has a lot of things that other ones don't. Things like the peppermint and the fennel seeds, the ginger root, the fenugreek, all these different things that are added to the traditional things like milk thistle, spirulina, chlorella, glutathione, all of these different things that are in a lot of different products out there. That's a daytime pill. You take that supplement during the day and your body's detoxifying, and when your body does most of the detoxification and elimination is when we're sleeping, right? It's healing, it's regenerating, instead of just dealing with the day's stress. So what happens is, at night, there's another pill that you take right before bed, away from any of your other supplements, because it will bind them up and make them inert if you take it. It'll do it to medications, this and that thing, because it's got flaxseed meal and it's got activated charcoal and glucomannan and cyclamaz, all put into one pill that you take at night, so that all the stuff that's going in your colon, let's talk about the liver and how it works. Right after I wake you up, because some of you go to sleep, let's stand up and have some fun. Stand up. Are you ready? What we're going to do is utilize one of the things, our skin and our lungs, to detox. And we're going to do it right now by having you utilize your arms to punch. You cannot punch the person in front of you, but you can picture your worst enemy. And all we're going to try to do is go at 90% as hard as you can for 20 seconds. Ready? And go. As hard as you can. We're going to be moving and punching. And some of you are inert. Oh, come on. Come on. Really move your arm. Try to get completely out of breath. And when you get done, you should not be able to talk. And rest. Breathe. That breathing is detoxifying you. If you're like me, start to break sweat. That's detoxifying. These are the things that we can do every single day, and I'll talk to you about how to do them better. Jesse. Since I was doing that and talking, now I've got a double breath. So we put all those things together, and we talk about the liver. Your liver is that major detoxifier. It's sending it to your skin, your lungs, your kidneys, or your colon. When it comes to the colon, your liver takes the fat-soluble things, and it puts it into the gallbladder. So if you don't have a gallbladder, come up to me after the workshop, and let's talk about that, because that's going to make things really hard for you to detox or absorb. So now, the liver creates the bile. The bile goes into the gallbladder. When food comes into the stomach, we know now, Dirty Dozen, Clean 15, organic, regeneratively farmed is better. So then we're doing the best we can with the things that we have. And then we're trying to put less toxins in. Because your body is the liver's taking the toxins. It puts it into the bile because it doesn't want to put it in the bloodstream, right? It wants to get rid of it in the bile because that goes into the colon. And so when the stomach releases the acidic acid and all of the digested food, it comes into where the pancreas, gallbladder all meet with the liver, and all of that mixture comes together to stop it from being acidic, turn it to a normal pH, so that it can go through the rest of your intestines and be absorbed. But when those toxins come in with toxic food, and many people have damaged guts, right? Leaky gut syndrome is the caption of Crohn's disease, ulcerative colitis, IBS. All of these things end up with a leaky gut. So now the toxins your body were trying to get rid of are going and trying to go through this sick colon to be gotten rid of, and all your body does is reabsorb them a lot of times. And so that's why that activated charcoal, the cellulose, the fiber is so important to bind up those toxins at night so that you do actually get rid of them, and we don't just keep recycling, which is called auto-intoxication. Okay? Your body is auto-intoxifying. So the cell repair is a supplement that gives you the things to heal the cell membrane, and it contains things like resveratrol, which is an it's one of the biggest, newest things that we're documenting that stops the aging process. But it has things in there that turn on and help recycle glutathione, which is the biggest antioxidant inside of our bodies. And glutathione is actually what reactivates vitamin C. So we all have heard of vitamin C. But glutathione has to interact with vitamin C to turn it into its active form. And so all of these things are put into a separate supplement that you can take so that you heal the cell membranes of your gut and every other cell of your body. So that's what we call the detox bundle. Any supplement that you buy this evening is 10% off, but the bundle, since it's two different things, we give it 15% off. So if you decide you want to implement that in your life, 15% off this evening, 10% off all the rest of the things that we have in the office. And this is something we do to reward people for taking time out of your busy lives to come learn something and help save and change your own life. We want to make things more implementable, easier to do. And so that's one of the things that we do. So how are we going to do this? One of the focuses, the main focuses of this evening is identifying the toxicity that's coming into us. So we've talked about food. What about our household cleaners? So again, if your email is on that form, then you're going to get a list of these non-toxic recipes of how you can create your own cleaning supplies. And would you pass around those magazines? If you in the last month have gotten one of our magazines, please don't take another one. Let's let the people, if you're a couple, just take one per couple. And if you're here in a group, just take one for the group. So that, again, we have enough. We almost ran out of them. And so I had to stop. I take them away so they wouldn't get gone before the workshop because they're great. They have all the rest, or not all, some of the recipes that you can use to have non-toxic cleaners, household ingredients. And for me in my house, I use the doTERRA oils, and I use them in the misters that I put in my rooms. I use Breathe and On Guard to fight off anything that we're dealing with. The vaporizers that go into the air. We use the essential oils in the mixtures that we make our cleaning supplies of. And the Norwex cloths, I don't mean to discount any of the other stuff because they're all great. We actually have the mop, we have everything. But the fact is the thing we love the most of their things are the hand towels that go onto the doorknobs and onto the things. Because, come on, I have 4 kids. And they don't wash their hands that great. I mean, I'd love to say they did, but, I know they don't. So when they at least dry their hands, they're using those silver embedded cloths. They're antimicrobial, and that helps sanitize their hands. That's a big one for us. But you'll find your own favorites. But that's why these folks are here. It's food, it's our products, it's the things that we have that we minimize and discover our alternatives, and there are the QR codes. Please scan. If your phone doesn't register those, just go onto the App Store, and you can't see it, just go to the App Store. and type in healthy living or food scores. Okay? That will give you those apps. You just download the app.
I'd like to mention the EWDG app also has a scanner in it that you can go through the store. Anything with a barcode like that, you can scan it and it'll give you more information than you can believe about that.
It is, and I thank you for, I failed to mention that. It ranks your products with how toxic they are, how allergic they are, and how cancerous they are. So you scan your labels at home, you get home, you scan your stuff, all of a sudden you're like, ooh. Like my son the other day, we were riding and he had bought something new that he was loving and he was using it on his skin, and we're riding down the road going somewhere and he scanned and he was like, oh, I need a replacement for that. You know, like he was appalled. He just spent his own money on this stuff. So,
And it's helpful because it's red, yellow, green.
yes, it's
So
just
it's very simple.
very simple. So I want to talk about cosmetics because so many people think that cosmetics is just makeup. But the fact is they looked at 49, and I'm going to use this as a reference for heavy metal toxicity. They looked at 49 different types of makeup, and they found that 96% contained lead. We talk about taking it out of paint, but women are painting themselves with lead every day. And it's one of the our skin is one of 3 ways stuff gets in us. 90% had beryllium, thallium, and cadmium. Those are the other heavy metals. And then 20% contained arsenic. Arsenic poisoning, right? I mean, that's what people are afraid of getting the mail. Packet of arsenic, die, right? I mean, these are very poisonous things. And it's in the very brands that people are exposing themselves to. And the mood swings, the headaches, the neurological problems, folks, that's nervous system poisoning. So here we go. I want to tell a story, and it reminds me for the battle for our mind. It reminds me that every day I know I was born for a time like this. I was meant to be here now because my wife isn't here representing Beauty Counter because Beauty Counter doesn't exist. It was a $50 million company earlier this year. And last year, the person who founded it had some life issues. And she chose to focus on her family, and she sold the company to an investment group. And the investment group approached her, not the other way around, and they bought it. And it turns out, I can't even use their names. This isn't public information. This isn't, I know this because she worked in Beauty Counter. Because her mentor was one of the ones who had just won enough and sold enough product to be the best seller in Georgia, and was going to Washington to lobby Congress to change laws to save women, to quit polluting our people. And this company happens to have $526 billion in their portfolio. And what do they own? Or what do they invest money for? They invest money for an oncology biopharmaceutical company, a chem lab in China, and they have a merchandising solutions for prestige cosmetics industry in their portfolio. So why would they waste it? They bought the company and they defunded it. So it slowly died without the people knowing. And now, no one exists there. And 50 million sounds like a lot to us, folks, but compared to 526 billion, it's 0.08%. They lost less than 1% of their money to destroy something that was saving and changing lives. That's the darkness out there. That's how much money they got. That's what they're willing to do. And it reminds me that these workshops, this is our ability to get together and say, we the people are valuable. We're worth it. Every good movement, every women's rights, equal rights, all of the cool things that we believe are inalienable rights, the freedoms that make us Americans, at one point in time, they weren't true. And it was the people who changed we the people can use the law of supply and demand. If we demand a different healthcare system, it has to be supplied. But people outside of this building don't know about it. They think I just pop backs to fix back pain. They don't know that we're trying to give the world a new healthcare system. We're replacing the sick care system with the 5 essentials. And chiropractic is one cog in the wheel. It's one of the 5 essentials. It is not the whole thing. Exercise is a part of the thing. The fact is that as I described earlier and how the embryo developed, and when it gets to a certain size, it had to have a cardiovascular system to supply oxygen and nutrition to that embryo. Well, you're some 70 trillion cells. It has to have oxygen and nutrition. So in your mind, you've thought in the past, possibly, that exercise was just to be thin or to look good at the beach and to have good cardiovascular health. Maybe it went that far. But the reality is the only reason that exercise is necessary is because if a part of your body doesn't have oxygen, that creates a deficiency. The deficiency causes that cell to ferment sugar, and lactic acid is produced. And that lactic acid creates an acidic environment, which damages the genetics, which increases your risk of cancer. Biochemistry is so cool. Because when we use it and we talk about it, it makes sense. If a cell is deficient in nutrients because the cardiovascular system isn't well equipped and don't have enough blood vessels because of lack of a heart that's functioning well, or maybe too much body mass and not enough blood vessels, then now it's deficient in nutrients, which makes it toxic, which damages the genetics, which causes cancer. It's just this simple. So let's stand up and have a little fun again. Come on, stand up. Get ready to move your feet. What we're going to do is this time it's called fast feet. And what we're going to be doing is you're going to pretend like you've got a fire underneath your feet, and you're going to participate. And what we're going to do is we're going to stomp that fire out for 20 seconds and go. Move your feet as fast as you can. Make sure that your body is actually moving. All right, keep going. Anybody can do anything for 20 seconds. Come on. And rest. Oxygen, nutrition, building exercise. Have a seat.
We have oxygen left in here.
All right. Your body gets rid of fat-soluble and water-soluble toxins through your skin. We know that you can put a clove of garlic in between your toes, and in like 2 minutes, you can taste it. Your body's absorbing it that fast. It absorbs the makeup, it absorbs the things, the poisoning. But if we reverse it, and we know that exercise done to 90% output and then down, 90% output and down, burns off hormones that are stress hormones. It increases the oxygenation better. When I work out in 15 minutes, I'll burn more calories than most people burn in 2 hours at the gym, or an hour of cycling, or an hour of running. Why? Because I'm going to 90%. That's the design of high-intensity interval training, CrossFit, all these things. They work because they use this, and they just don't talk about it as much. But I want you to have the understanding that if you're walking, walk up that hill, go as fast as you can. If you're cycling, if you're going to play with the kids, play with the kids. Have fun. Play soccer. Do whatever you can do, and go to 90%. That's your exercise for the day. But some of you work in stressful, hot, sweaty environments, and you're on your feet a lot, and that does not count. Sorry, doesn't count. Because typically, the air is very toxic. Like, God, the integer, I ran past there today. I took off on a run today. Went around the industrial complex. When I came around there, man, the smell, whew, I mean, I can't imagine breathing that in all day long. It's becoming toxic no matter how hard it is. And so your body, you've got to learn that the mind has to be empty, focused on the task, to be outside. Those are the best scenarios. That's how exercise is at its purest. So create your routines. Understand that, you know what? My week is different every day. Like, so on Mondays and Wednesdays, Anna and I work out at lunch. On Tuesdays and Thursdays, I work out during the morning. On Fridays, I work out after work because that's how it rolls. It's the only way I can get it in. So what's your week look like? When are you going to exercise? How are you going to exercise? What makes sense? How do you pack your clothes? How do you do whatever? Just equip yourself in your routines. Make it simple. Most of us get defeated before we ever even start because we overthink it. Oh, it's just going to be too much. Never mind, give me the ice cream. You know, this is the mentality that we have, right?
Tell them how you incorporated a little extra today.
Oh.
I challenged him to do this.
She challenged me to bring it. She was like, well, when you're bringing in the chairs, that could be part of your workout. So I did. I was using the chairs. I came in. I have the storage unit over here on the side. And so you use what you got. You know, I mean, and I ran. Probably made my neighbors really mad. These guys are weird. And I am. Right?
Right.
If you're not different, you're going to be a statistic of the normal sick world. And I would like to challenge your brain one step further. When sick becomes the normal, what then? That's where we are. What's next, folks? Mark Twain said that when you find yourself on the side of the majority, stop and reflect. He was talking about social change that was needed then. We need social change now. It's up to us. You're leaving here hopefully on fire. I want you to have a moral and holy outrage for what your family is being subjected to what you grew up in, to what was told to you to be healthcare was a hand that was reaching out to you from people who are well-intentioned. The nurses, the doctors, those people have been indoctrinated into a system, and they are really trying to help. And they're good people. They're just wrong.
Amen.
And they want to help. But it's just the way of it. We've grown up this way. And in the emergency situations, save and change lives every day. Best emergency medical in the whole world, right here in America. We just have the worst healthcare system. And the idea is that we are the healthcare system. God created you with everything you need right inside of you. We got to get rid of the interference that's causing it not to work right. The sick mind. The battle for your mind is every day. So detox your habits. Create peace. Prepare yourself for your day because you're worth it. The warning signs that we call symptoms are warning signs. They're check engine lights. I wish every time I ate something I started getting really toxic, like this light would come on my forehead. And I'd look in the mirror, you know, I could brush my teeth and be like, whoa, dude, you're toxic. Go take some more of those supplements, work out, whatever. We don't have check engine lights. They're symptoms that the darkness told us we needed drugs for so that we could feel better as we die sooner. This is the reality. And it causes other problems that then we take other drugs to fix. So the earlier we can create a patient out of you, the more money that can be made off of you. This is it, right?
Yeah.
Health comes from one place. It's inside of you. The only thing that can form new cells is you. Health equals 100% function. How much room is there for disease if your body is functioning at 100%? None. Why chiropractic? Why is the chiropractor talking about this? Because our brain, God made us with a brain that creates our energy. It is the electrical system. That system goes through our spine. And the cord, our spinal cord, is like our fiber optics. And that fiber optic internet gives off the rest of the internet to our house. And that house has parts, just like our house has parts, right? And the wires go over here, and that's where we plug in our toaster, and our refrigerator's over there, and the lights in our room. We have different appliances that do our work inside of our house, and they have to be connected to the computer. And if your body is subluxated, if your spine gets out of alignment and creates inflammation and pressure and disc bulges and all the things that we know, it puts pressure on the nerves that are the wires that tell your body how to function. And chiropractic, understanding that perspective, says you have to remove those subluxations if you ever expect your brain to be able to connect with your body, and these nerves that are coming out of these bones, if they're twisted, or like half our kids today going to school with book bags on and cell phones, right? They look 90, and they're only 5. Right? We see them. Hopefully they aren't your children. And the thing is that if this is going on, nothing else can work right. See, 3, 4, and 5 keep the body alive. That's the rhyme I learned in school for the phrenic nerve. Vagus controls all of digestion, all the way down to the pancreas and the stomach. That comes out from the nerves at the top of your right underneath the base of your skull. It's the third largest nerve in the human body. Sciatic, femoral, and vagus. So if you're subluxated or off to the side, nothing's working right. Your digestion's off. You're going to be toxic. So when we go through, one of the things is that these warning signs, these problems, we have to prioritize our action steps. Number one, if you are not a current chiropractic patient, you need to become one. What we do here in this office is we give everybody who came to a workshop, it's a 60% discount. Your new patient visit, which is completely worth it, is normally like $150. Instead, it's $60 if you sign up this evening. What that does is it lumps your exam and any necessary x-rays all into one bundle. And it's for you. There are sign-up sheets on the back of your order forms. And what happens is there, you can put your name, your phone number, and your date of birth, because that's what we have to be able to put you in the computer. It's on the back. It's actually the bottom right there.
It's actually a separate page.
It's a separate page. Sorry, I didn't make these packets. But any person that you put on that list can call us within the next week to be a new patient in this office. And it saves them 60%. Because the number one thing for detoxification to happen is that the nerves are telling the liver what to do and how to do it. That the nerves are controlling your skin right, your lungs right, your kidneys right. If those organs are not getting the messages from your brain to your body, then your body's detoxification systems are never going to work right. Minimizing toxins, exercising, having a positive mental attitude, those all contribute to your health, but your nervous system controls your health. That's why chiropractic is presenting this information to you. That's why it makes sense to be here replacing your healthcare model at the chiropractor instead of the pharmaceutical company or the hospital or all of these things. Checked for subluxation, cell detox and repair, upregulate your body. For the next 30 days, give your body what it needs to get all those pathways pumping, to help heal your gut, heal the cells of your body. Then change your protocols, change your cosmetics, change your products. You have the recipes right now. If your email's on there, you're going to have more recipes. You'll have the shopping guides, what to buy and what to keep on hand in your pantry so that when you run out, because one of the things, again, mindset. Man, that's going to be expensive. I can't replace everything. Don't. Replace one thing at a time when you run out of it. When something runs out, replace it with something safe and non-toxic. That's it. When you run out of that type of makeup or you run out of shampoo, go ahead and have the app on your phone. One of the things that infuriates me is the Beauty Counter was my wife's research, and when she found the company, she decided to work for them. So I now cannot supply the things that I used to make in my house My 4 kids. I'm utilizing these apps now. I'm back to shopping and doing the work, just like you, because I can't buy it all in one-stop shopping. That's what Beauty Counter was. It was the lotions, the shampoos, the makeup, everything was in that company, and they destroyed it. So I would encourage you to go ahead, have the apps. Look for what you're going to replace what. You know you're about to run out. Just find that product, safe, non-toxic. Go ahead, and then when you run out of it, go buy it. Sweat every day. It's pretty easy. Today I just put on an extra jacket and went out in the rain. Just make it happen. Half ounce of water per pound of body mass. Make sure that the fluid that's inside of you is constantly being recycled. And then remember, I had someone actually spoke to somebody this morning. They called me to ask about the bad diet that's going on and if that could help them reset their hormones. And it reminded me to create this slide. Everything that you need to start with in your health journey is at maxliving.com. You go there, the perspectives, literally, you type in cardiovascular disease in their search engine, you're going to get a perspective that has what to do in all 5 essentials. It's going to tell you chiropractically what to do, nutritionally what to do, exercise, supplements, everything's there. And then you can follow the rabbit hole, and it'll take you to all the sites that they got all that information off PubMed, the National Institute of Health, and that way you know, and you're not just following some Facebook marketing scheme. Let's get people some security and understanding so that you can experience max living. A life that makes people ask you what you're doing. How'd you get like that? Where'd you learn this thought process? What changed your life? I just started max living. I started living differently. This is and then I want that for your family. I want that for your kids, your grandkids. And every opportunity is an opportunity to mold our community with the expectation of health instead of death and disease. And I thank you for coming this evening. I hope that you've learned something that can save and change your lives. As you leave, please ask the ladies the questions that you want. Get the things that you need. The supplements are either 15% off or 10% off, and we're about to do a raffle right now. So what we're going to do is give away some vitamin D and some products and things like that. That we, as another reward for being here. What am I giving away?
You said it, so I was just gonna roll it.
I did, but I need to know what I'm giving away before
Vitamin D.
Okay, vitamin D, sorry. She said that. Mike Lawson, vitamin D, right on. She will give that to you. All right, what am I giving away?
Well, we have some peppermint essential oil from doTERRA.
Sweet.
So
Did you
one of
put my
our-
name in here?
You were
Okay.
excited.
Peppermint oil goes to Mary Jo Short. Yes. All right. What now?
Next, we have some Spry toothpaste.
All right, right. Safe, non-toxic toothpaste.
Fluoride free, no sweet.
Not sweetened. Cassidy.
There must have been something going on.
Did you say she was going to win something tonight? I bet she won something. What we
We
got?
also have some peppermint gum.
Spry, peppermint gum, non-toxic. This is what I'll let my kids choose. Alta Wilson. Hey, there we go. All right. What else?
And the next one is Norwex donated, but it is gender specific, so you have to draw first.
So there's 2 things?
It's a gender specific item.
Okay. So do I need to draw a man?
Just draw one.
Oh, okay. Brittany Tipton.
Hey, cool. So you got a peppermint foamy hand wash and a little facial mitt.
Super cool. All right. Thank you all so much for coming. I hope that this allows or empowers you to go out there and take action in your life because you're in control of your results. Thanks for coming.
Where did he come
new stickers.